In the heartland of North Dakota, under the celestial umbrella of the indifferent cosmos, slumbered the city of Bismarck. Its streets, draped in the shroud of a sable night, whispered tales of commonplace life, guarding secrets beneath a facade of mundane existence. Alexander, a young journalist who had already borne the weight of 1,000 melancholies, occupied a tiny apartment, nestled among the city's skeletal structures. A fire in his eyes hinted at a battle with past demons, while the creases on his brows bore the evidence of a mind continually turning the gears of thought. His was a spirit forged in the furnace of depression, hardened and yet remarkably empathetic. A single photograph on his desk, a woman smiling, a subtle sadness in her eyes, was the only visible scar of the battle he waged in his heart. That night, Alexander found himself drawn towards a neon specter that pulsed in the city's shadowy veins. The Nebula, a nightclub that served as a nocturnal playground for Bismarck's denizens. It was rumored to house more than just intoxicated stories and loud music. Hidden beneath the pulsating beats and garish lights was a flourishing market of deadly commodities. Inside the Nebula, he met Murphy, a weathered man whose gruff exterior hinted at a life lived in the dark corners of society. Between sips of strong liquor and the sound of jazz whispering melancholic tunes, they danced around the subject of weaponry. Why would a journalist be interested in the harmless trade happening in the Nebula, Alex? Murphy's eyes, hardened by suspicion, scrutinized him. "It's not the weapons, Murphy. It's the stories they tell," he replied, his voice carrying an earnestness that permeated the air, subtly dispelling the fog of distrust. He was not merely persistent. He was sincere, a genuine seeker of truth. The plight of those affected by this illicit trade was not just a headline to him, but a call to arms. As the night deepened, so did their conversation, each revelation unmasking a layer of the city that lay hidden under the gaze of its silent stars. Alexander, soaked in the nocturnal symphony of the Nebula, continued his quest, unaware of the cosmic dance that awaited him. The world of Bismarck was beginning to unfold before him, a puzzling tapestry interwoven with threads of ordinary life in a looming horror. A promise of purpose, a purpose cloaked in danger, mystery, and a chance to expose a hidden world was taking shape. He was drawn into the dance of the cosmos, but as the night fell upon Bismarck, another shadow began to stir in the corners of his mind, a hint of the dark melody that would soon consume his very being. The first whispers of the eclipse were sown, a prelude to the symphony of madness that would unfold under the indifferent cosmic canopy. Under the persistent gaze of a new day, Bismarck emerged from its nocturnal retreat. But within the four walls of Alexander's modest apartment, night lingered, clutching at the edges of his consciousness. A profound change had begun to unfurl within him, a metamorphosis fostered by the city's veiled secrets. He sat hunched over his desk, his hand twitching over a notepad filled with cryptic scribbles. The edges of his reality blurred as cryptic visions began to seep into his waking hours. Bismarck's skyline, once a symbol of familiar stability, now twisted into gnarled spectral forms, reflecting an insidious cosmic nightmare. "Must be the lack of sleep," he muttered to himself, pushing away the specters of his mind with a shake of his head. He sought solace in routine, threading his day with the tasks of a journalist, seeking information, conducting interviews, compiling notes. The mundanity of it all was a comforting antidote to the bizarre illusions that clung to the corners of his eyes. It was during one such interview with an old bartender named Will that his reality began to warp visibly. The two men, ensconced in the quiet corner of a forgotten coffee shop, spoke in hushed tones, their words drowned by the murmur of brewing coffee and sporadic laughter. "Something's off about the Nebula, ain't it, Alex?" Will asked, his wrinkled face etched with concern. He attempted to respond, but his words froze in his throat as his vision shimmered. Will's form wavered, replaced by a colossal entity, a twisting mass of dark tendrils that undulated against the fabric of reality. Fear sparked in his chest, not merely at the terrifying sight, but the strange allure it held. Pushing away the vision with a blink, he replied, "There's definitely more than what meets the eye, Will." His voice wavered, the echo of the apparition lingering. Despite the growing dread, he was not deterred. If anything, the visions, the grotesque transformations of the world around him, spurred him onward. They served as grotesque signposts, guiding him deeper into the mystery of the nebula and its sinister underpinnings. Thus, a new rhythm was established. Each day, he ventured deeper into the pulsating heart of Bismarck's secret world, haunted by visions of cosmic horror. Each night, he returned to his sanctuary, seeking refuge in the quietude of his solitude, a fortress against the encroaching darkness. His reality was fraying at the edges, but he clung to the thread of his purpose, a lifeline in the burgeoning chaos. As the last line of the chapter faded, a chilling premonition hung in the air. For deep within the pulsating heart of the nebula, something ancient stirred, humming in tune with his spiraling sanity. An abyss was opening up, promising to reveal a truth that danced on the precipice of madness and revelation. And he was in the center of it all, teetering on the edge, a cosmic dance of terror and intrigue playing out within him. The eclipse of his mind had begun, heralding a deeper descent into the labyrinth of Bismarck's secrets. The undulating rhythm of Bismarck seemed to shift in response to Alexander's transformation. Streets that once echoed with familiar stories now whispered unsettling tales in languages unheard. The cityscape, once an innocuous blend of concrete and aspirations, now reflected the chilling design of his visions, the terrifying and enigmatic cosmic entities seeping into every crevice of his reality. His descent into the abyss was not a solitary journey. Bismarck was mirroring his fall, a grotesque ballet staged under the oblivious cosmos. In a grimy corner of the nebula, obscured by shadows and the drone of electronic music, he found the object that seemed to be a physical manifestation of his nightmares, an arcane artifact, its alien form pulsating with otherworldly energy. It bore a design eerily similar to the spectral forms that haunted his waking hours, a cipher hinting at a truth far beyond his comprehension. Upon touching the artifact, the world around him seemed to implode. His vision narrowed to the pulsating form of the artifact. Voices of the crowd morphed into inhuman whispers. The pounding music of the nebula receded, replaced by a cosmic hum. He was standing at the precipice of the abyss, the cold wind of the unknown whipping at his face, a haunting lullaby of dread and wonder pulling him deeper. Loretta, a woman with eyes mirroring the hues of the nebula and the suspected linchpin of the weapons network, approached him. Her voice, usually seductive and confident, wavered, "You're meddling with forces beyond your understanding, Alex." She bore the markings of the entity. It had touched her too, warping her reality. The shared recognition in their eyes was a silent admission of the horror that lay beneath the surface of the nebula. "I need to understand, Loretta. The visions, the artifact, they're connected to the trade, aren't they?" His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of impending doom. As he delved deeper, the thin line that separated him from the entity eroded. Each conversation, each secret unearthed, tugged him further into the cosmic drama. The whispers grew into cacophonous roars. The cityscape warped into an alien architecture. The artifact in his possession pulsed with dark energy, an umbilical cord tethering him to the cosmic horror. The abyss was no longer a distant terror. It was within him, around him, consuming him. Yet amidst the spiraling chaos, a strange sense of purpose fortified him. The reality of Bismarck was shattering, revealing a truth that threatened his sanity. Yet he bore it all, for the pursuit of truth was his driving force. His spirit, tempered by past adversities, held strong against the cosmic tide. He was standing alone in his apartment, the artifact resting ominously on his desk. The cosmic hum echoed in his ears, the city of Bismarck outside his window reflecting the terror within. His descent into the abyss was almost complete, the penultimate act in a dance choreographed by unseen cosmic forces. The stage was set for a final confrontation, and the nebula was poised to embrace its tragic hero. The timepiece of the cosmos continued to tick, each second a note in the grand symphony of the universe. The city of Bismarck, once a beacon of human endeavor, now stood as an eerie echo of a cosmic horror. The transformation of Alexander's reality was almost complete, and with it, the city had mirrored his decay, the entity casting its ominous shadow over the innocuous cityscape. Within the confines of his apartment, the epicenter of the impending climax, he cradled the artifact. Its surface seemed to pulse in tandem with his heartbeat, the rhythm akin to a primordial lullaby, luring him towards a revelation that danced on the edges of his understanding. A harsh knock at the door broke his trance. Upon opening, he was met with Loretta, her eyes wide with fear and understanding. The last fragments of her skepticism had been eroded, replaced by a shared terror and acceptance of their entwined fate. "We can't stop it, can we?" Her voice was but a whisper, carried on the wind of their shared understanding. He replied, the artifact still pulsating in his grip. "No, we're part of it now. Part of the nebula, part of the cosmos. It was never about the weapons. They were merely conduits, vessels for something far more ancient and terrifying." The air between them vibrated with the spectral energy of the artifact. Its hum was no longer an alien sound, but a part of the fabric of their reality, the soundtrack of their existence. He felt his body begin to unravel, his form dissipating, becoming one with the entity. The visions that once tormented him now offered a chilling comfort. The faces of Bismarck's denizens, the city's skyline, the stories he had pursued, they all twisted and melded into the cosmic tapestry, a gruesome painting of his reality. His last moments were not of despair, but of a profound understanding. This was his purpose, his journey's end. The quest for truth, the uncovering of Bismarck's secrets, the abyss, they were all but steps leading him to this dance with the cosmos. As the remnants of his form dissolved into the nebulous entity, he took one last look at the world. The sun was beginning to rise over Bismarck, casting a warm glow over the city that had become a stage for cosmic horror. The first rays of light pierced the veil of the entity, creating a kaleidoscope of terror and beauty. His consciousness began to fade, swallowed by the indifferent cosmic entity, his essence becoming a part of the nebulous horror that had claimed Bismarck. The last vestiges of Alexander, the persistent journalist, the seeker of truth, were consumed by the nebula's embrace. Thus, under the indifferent gaze of the cosmos, the tale of Bismarck and its tragic hero concluded. The city would continue to exist, its residents oblivious to the dance of cosmic horror that had played out within its confines. The nebula would continue to pulse with life and dread, forever echoing with the remnants of Alexander's fateful dance. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe to our channel, where you can find more similar stories, and click on the bell icon to never miss one. There is plenty more cosmic horror to come from the Eldritch Tales Factory. Stay tuned, and until next time.